I'm Srinath Setty. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Hosachiguru. We are a Bangalore-based firm. Today, wellness is a big topic, and if you look at, even the government of India has taken initiatives in terms of Ayush, uh, to bring in many policies and frameworks to address the wellness issues. But if I were to talk about wellness, there are three important factors to it, right? Of course, there are multiple, but amongst the top three, I would look at mental health and psychological disorders as the number one. uh, the issue with, even the UN has raised a big red flag on this. So almost 20% of the population suffer with mental health and psychological disorders, and more than 1 million people suicide every year because of this. In fact, we've all seen this even in our offices, right? The number of leaves that people take. As per some of the estimates, around 15% of the people used to take leaves, say way back in 2015-16, because of mental health and psychological disorders. But if you come back to 2021, the latest data says it's about 21 to 22%, and that's a drastic increase. And where are we heading with this? Now, this is something that has to be seriously looked at. The second big thing is pollution, the kind of air that we breathe in. In fact, it's a global challenge, and if you look at, we breathe in at least 25,000 times a day, and in some form or the other we can always regulate the kind of water that we drink, the kind of food that we consume, but there is absolutely no way to regulate the air we breathe in. And if you look at our capital, which is Delhi, the air quality index is almost 300, which is a big challenge, right? And even the so-called garden city of Bangalore is at about 150. But whereas if you look at a developed nation, nature has given us more than 30,000 varieties of edible plants that we can all eat, right? But because of industrialized agriculture, over a period of time, that has been perhaps cut down to about 150 to 170 varieties of, cereals, spices, including the kinds of the likes of tea and coffee that we consume. And in fact, if you look at the cereals, there are just three types of cereals that we consume, right? One is rice, wheat, and maize. But there are so much more that the nature has to offer us. Now, if I were to look at food, I would like to address this in two aspects. One is the variety of food that we are consuming. The second one is in the kind of agricultural practices that is being adopted to grow this food. When it comes to variety, today, we've all heard about the challenges of GMO and all of that, but that is only the tip of the iceberg. If you look at the engineered varieties that we are all consuming today, which are in the market, it could be rice as a food grain, or it could be a pomegranate as a fruit, or it could be papaya as a fruit, or it could be banana. All of these varieties, they're engineered so that they can respond better to chemicals. So you give them more nitrogen, they will give you more foliage. You give them more phosphorus, they'll give you more root growth. So that is how they've all been engineered, so that the output is a lot higher, right? Now, the engineered varieties, they also pose a problem, because the companies which produce the engineered varieties also have to look at their own interest. So most often than not, the engineered varieties are terminator varieties, which means once you consume that fruit or a papaya and you try and put that seed back into the soil, you only get back vegetative growth. You're not going to get back another papaya out of that particular tree. Now, this is perhaps one of the biggest biggest challenges when it comes to fertility, right? If you are what you eat at the end of the day, if you're going to eat something that cannot propagate itself, you're also going to face that challenge. So it is very important to understand the variety of food that we are eating and bring in a biodiverse variety of food that we can cultivate as well, right? So look at the places where you stay, look at the native seeds that are available there, open pollinated seeds, and try and adapt to those, try and grow them in your own homes. The problem with the open variety or the native variety is that you don't get a bountiful yield, right? Your keeping quality of that may not be the best. It may not look as good as the hybrid varieties, but that is where the industrial agriculture has come into picture, and the farmers have adopted to that because the market demands something of that sort, right? Tomorrow, if you have a worm in your mango, don't worry, because a worm can thrive in a good environment, but if it is artificially ripened, then even the worm will die there, or the egg that has been laid there will die. So one has to look at the variety of food that we are consuming, and that is one of the most important aspect. Coming to the second aspect is in terms of the agricultural practices that we have to adopt. Now, it all started with the green revolution back in India, right? Otherwise, people were growing native variety, they were getting lower yields and all of that, and then the scare about growing population, the growing consumption came into picture, and green revolution stepped in. During the start of green revolution, we had just the three macronutrients, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. So the farmer knew this very well. In the initial stage, I need a vegetative growth, I will put in more nitrogen. I need the root to be well established, I'll put in more phosphorus. And then as the fruit is ready, I will put in some potash. So that was how it was trained. Now with the advancement of science, with these companies growing in then came the era of micronutrients, right, where people started speaking about magnesium deficiency, calcium deficiency, boron deficiency, and they started bringing about micronutrients for all of those challenges, right? So if a leaf had some morphological issue, go ahead and put some magnesium into it. Now that's good, because all of these plants will respond to that. But the problem is that every time you're feeding in synthetic fertilizer, right, the plants may give you a temporarily good yield, but what's happening to the soil underneath? The soil is the main thing. It's like our body, right? We may perform today very well, right? 1 year we may have an excellent performance, but what about our future? So that's where we have to look at it. I started my journey into farming almost 15 years back. We used to cultivate a variety of fruits and vegetables. At the same time, we also tried our hands in ashwagandha, safed musli, and vanilla, which are the medicinal plants. And during the course of cultivation and with the adaptation of precision farming and modern sciences, we realized that we have been degrading the soil using chemical fertilizer and synthetic fertilizers. And also with every passing year, the cultivation got more and more expensive. So what we tried to do is to get into regenerative agriculture principles, where we could enable cultivation for a longer duration. And with that idea, Hosachiguru was born along with my other partners. So the purpose at Hosachiguru is to enable and encourage people to make farming and sustainable living a part of their day-to-day life. With that in mind, we went ahead and started projects where people could come together and farm together, and as a professional company we could manage it for them and ensure that we are growing a lot more nutritious variety of fruits and vegetables for their own consumptions. So at Hosachiguru currently we cultivate more than 1500 acres of farmland, and all of these farmlands are owned by individuals and are a part of a gated community. So typically the project size are anywhere between 50 acres to 100 acres, where say in a project around 50 to 100 co-farmers would come together, buy a small parcel of land which could be a quarter acre or a half acre, and then as a company we would plant a varied varieties of trees which are open pollinated and native varieties of trees based on the choice of each individual. Under the principle of regenerative agriculture, we would cultivate these trees and crops, and then whatever is grown here would be then supplied to the customers or supplied to the landowners' homes, right? That is how the model is structured. So under this model, we have, like I said, done about 1500 plus acres, and more than 1500 plus customers have been onboarded in and around Bangalore, and we do these deliveries of these veggies and fruits on a weekly basis to their homes. So during the process, there are three important goals that we achieve. One is ensuring there is quality food, nutritious food which is made of native varieties that are produced, and hence enhancing the health of our co-farmers. The second one is in terms of providing a very good ecological system, right? So when we grow varied varieties of plants and have the right practices, we are able to enrich the soil, not just for the ongoing crops but for generations, right? It is not just about soil, it's about water conservation, it's about pollution, and it's about ensuring that we are giving a very serene life for the ecology around us. The third and the most important aspect is in terms of carbon sequestration. If you look at a land of the particular farm that we are sitting in is about 60 odd acres, and we have more than 30,000 trees that have been planted here, and there are varied varieties of trees. The amount of carbon sequestration that we are able to bring in is immense. Typically every acre of land, the trees that we plant, we are able to at least sequestrate about 40 tons of carbon dioxide every decade. At Hosachiguru today we manage more than 1500 plus acres of farmland, and we have more than 1500 plus co-farmers who are with us.